we've got to sort of Stamford Bridge. I suppose a big weekend. Yep. The blue chip game of the weekend was Stamford Bridge. Chelsea facing Arsenal. Chelsea team that has probably gone beyond certainly my expectations, but some expectations with the start they've had. An Arsenal team that's, I would say, that's not quite been maybe as consistent as we thought. So a big London derby, Rob. I suppose my headline, my first line out of the game was the only winner in this game was Liverpool, because these two teams both shared a point. There's now, was it a 9-point gap between them and the likes of Arsenal, who are expected to challenge, and Chelsea, who maybe for some haven't expected, but you'd have to say are part of the title race as we go into the international break. But in terms of the game, Rob, I actually thought a draw was about the fairish result. Didn't think either team quite did enough in terms of the football they played, in terms of, I think Tim made a point, like earning the right to play, doing what they do to score goals and get goals. I thought both teams weren't quite at it, although it was still a really kind of back and forth, blood and thunder London derby.
Who's happier, Rob? I could throw it right back at you. Who's happier after that game? Because I know Liverpool, they'll be delighted with that. But let's get to these two teams and the matchup. Who's happier at the end of the game?
Well, on the basis of 10 games played before, the position they were in and the form they're in, you would think, you should say Chelsea, being the home team, should be the happier. I believe that Arsenal would feel playing somewhere near their levels, with Martin Odegaard back in the team, wanting to, the start of this season was about Arsenal winning a title, going one better than they have over the last couple of years. So with that in mind, I'd have to feel that Arsenal would feel they could go to Chelsea and get the 3 points that they would have wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a fascinating game. I did think it was super tense, excited to see it. It felt big, Rob, for me. It felt big. It felt like consequential. It felt like Arsenal had to do something. I know many people out there believe that they had to win the game. I can't say that in first week or whatever of November. So I still think there's a long way to go. I still think there's points to be dropped all over the league table. I think the important thing for me, two big takeaways for me, Rob. First off on Chelsea, is that, Arsenal were full strength. And I know that Odegaard's been out for a while, and we'll get to him and how good he was. But they're full strength. And Chelsea, kind of went toe-to-toe.
Weren't Chelsea, was this a full strength Chelsea, though? Who would come in?
Full strength.
So you're saying both are probably...
Absolutely.
Maybe not on top of the game, but the best 11 players, or best 11 players they'd won out there were out there. Maybe Reece James would have been...
maybe. I think
Reece James would be in their best 11.
I'm not sure he would.
James, a captain for me, would be in their best 11.
I'm not sure he would, actually. But we might disagree on that. I think Malo Gusto's role, Rob, whether Malo Gusto does it and he becomes a number 8, Reece James can't do that, right? I get he's better as a defender, but in the balance of the team, and Cucurella, I think he was man of the match, Rob, on the match day.
Yeah,
he had a really good game on the left back. Anyway, all I'm trying to say is, Rob, that given this project at Chelsea and how young the team is and how kind of new they are, and they're still learning and the manager's still tinkering and still trying to figure bits out, I thought they were surprisingly close to Arsenal in terms of, I don't know, just the way that they play, physicality. They're at home, so you might expect them to have the advantage of that, which they did have that advantage, and didn't win the match. I just think that Chelsea are learning, Rob, a lot. I mean, I don't think they quite played the game that they really like to play against Arsenal, but that being said, Arsenal are a team that, in terms of experience, they're ahead of Chelsea. So from Chelsea's point of view, I just thought they're looking really good, and the manager afterwards will be happy. I think the fans will be kind of happy, and wasn't there a quote from Maresca that Rebecca said on the show, Rob? Like, he was asked a question when he was interviewed for the job.
Yeah.
I think he said, now, whether you have me or not, this squad could dominate the Premier League for the next 5 to 10 years. So he was very much believing in the players that they got, the philosophy of going in with those young players, and he's done an excellent job. So just my takeaways of Chelsea are Madueke still learning. Still not consistent. Still a question mark on whether that position might be upgraded. Sounds harsh, but in terms of making a perfect Chelsea, Madueke's got to step up a little bit. He's only 22 years of age. Wasn't really a Nicholas Jackson game, Rob. And he's done better. And he will also improve, 23 years of age. Pedro Neto, outstanding. An outstanding game from Pedro Neto. And then Cole Palmer was a little quieter. We've seen enough of Lavia, and particularly Caicedo I thought was really, really good. Malo Gusto does that number 8 position, goes back into the back 4. Moises Caicedo, Rob, I'm just going through the team, like Moises Caicedo, again, I thought had a big game, strong game, physical. He's playing, Rob, like, I feel like when he first went there, he's in his own head. He's playing in his own head. He's thinking about every little step he makes in a game, every pass he makes, every tackle he goes for, everything. He's thinking about it. Right now, he's totally out of his head, playing the game, tackling, closing down. He's much better now. Lavia's still finding his feet. And you've got Cucurella, Colwell and Fofana. Fofana, I think, is going to be a top-class centre-back. And back to Gusto and Robert Sanchez, a position I think they can improve. So there's still ways for them to go. But my point is, they were closer to Arsenal, Robert, than I expect them to be.
I wouldn't. I don't disagree with your point. I don't necessarily. I'm not that surprised that they're not that far from Arsenal, because I think that's what has happened in 11 games, and we're talking about 11 games versus Mikel Arteta, what is in the fourth season now in charge. So a whole different kind of body of work. But such has been the progress, such has been the organisation, the stability, as you said, there's a pattern of play. I wasn't that surprised there wasn't that much between them, because in real terms, if you look at the 11v11s, Arsenal are further down the track and do have a bit better quality. But this Chelsea team is dangerous. And it's interesting, you talked about, they played Arsenal. I remember we saw Chelsea live play Man City first game of the season. We were at Stamford Bridge, where they were decent. They got beat by a City team. Recently, not too long ago, Rob, was it a month or so ago, they played at Liverpool. And I remember saying after that game, I thought Liverpool's know-how was just better.
2-1,
The two teams, there wasn't loads of them. And then we've seen them today against Arsenal. So we're talking the 3 biggest, best teams in the country, who one of the 3 you feel will win the title. And Chelsea aren't that far behind. I still personally don't think they'll finish top of the pile come next May. No. I think that would be too much expectation. I think young players, Caicedo is a great example of, and as you talked about, maybe being in his head, still understanding the tactics, like wanting to do what the manager wants him to do first, but then playing his natural game. I think that's going to happen with a number of players. I thought today wasn't a Cole Palmer day. In some respects, I thought Arsenal did a good job of squeezing the space, not allowing him to get on the ball. And one of the things that my note I wrote down, Rob, is if you can squeeze and stop Cole Palmer, you take a big part of Nicholas Jackson's game away. Because Palmer can't get on the turn and look to thread those balls, then you don't see so much of Jackson making those vertical runs that are so dangerous. So, again, I thought it was probably on as even. Both want to play in a slightly different way. Both never quite got to the top of their game. And I thought a draw was about the right result. It's interesting, you talked about the wide areas. I've got Cucurella versus Saka. I'd have to say Cucurella won that one today. I saw Neto versus Ben White. I'd probably say Neto won that area today. So in those wide areas, I'd have to say Chelsea probably won that. I want to throw a guy in, mate, who came on, I think, with 10 minutes to go of the game. I think when Saka came off. Gabriel Jesus, my friend. A good and firing Gabriel Jesus right now would give Arsenal a lovely option at the top end of the pitch. Whether he's central, and you do different with Havertz, whether you play him down one of the sides, whether he's been a title winner. He was brought in for big money. I've always been a big admirer of Gabriel Jesus. The moment I've been slightly disappointed in what he's brought to this group. I don't particularly see what he's giving them, what more they're getting when he does or doesn't play. And that's, I think, a miss, because there's 15 goals in a good Gabriel Jesus. This goal threat, there's hard work, there's sort of passion for the structure and doing the ugly side. Which
who's he playing for, Rob? Who's he coming to the team today? The Arsenal team.
I'm not saying he comes in,
team.
but even I'm not saying even when he starts. I'm saying when he comes on. When he comes on, Rob, he doesn't affect the game. I don't really see him affecting the game in a way that somebody as experienced as good as him should. It should give Arsenal another option when he comes off the bench. I just felt, I was watching him today and I just thought, he's not really he's not really given Arsenal much more than they have when he's not playing, and I'm slightly disappointed in him for that, because I think he's a better player than that.
Yeah, I think he will be, $54 million he came in from Man City, and he's had some good moments. But can you imagine his confidence, Rob, where he thought he was going to go into that football club as a number 9, be the striker, play every week, score a ton of goals. Yeah. It hasn't quite happened for him again. Another club, and Kai Havertz has been a more reliable scorer. But I think your point's an excellent point. Off the bench, I just wonder if his confidence level, his demeanour, his motivation's a little lower because he's not the guy that he expected to be at the club and others. I mean, other than, but it's a good point. Their bench, and that's why. When we think about Arsenal, where they are on the league table right now, they did have some injuries and the red cards and stuff totally derailed them. And there'll be a question mark, Rob, on whether the squad is big enough to handle that, where it should be. We've seen City before have injuries to their best players. They still go on and win titles. I went back, and I'll throw it up to you. In the pre-game show today, Rob, I kind of went back to the transfer window for Arsenal. Particularly thinking about when Odegaard's been out. And I think we should remember that, players that were allowed to leave, Emil Smith-Rowe, Eddie Nketiah, Fabio Vieira, Reece Nelson, the last two on loan. I'm not saying that they would be making the first team better, but they're kind of nice options to have. Odegaard's been out a while, Rob. I just think Smith-Rowe might have been, a useful player to make that difference like we saw Odegaard make today. And then the players that came in, Calafiori, okay, defensive cover. Mikel Merino is looking at the moment, bit average. Bit average, and again,
I think we all expected more, though, didn't we? We all expected a little bit more, maybe, from him.
And also Raheem Sterling, Robbie Earle. Raheem Sterling hasn't had the impact that we did. So if those guys don't make a big impact, then when you do lose some of the players in the first 11, I feel like that could be a problem. All that being said, enjoyed Arsenal's today, best team. For me, that's their best team. Timbers at left back, Ben White in the side, Odegaard, Rice and Partey. And I thought they looked more like Arsenal that we remember, that won 16 of the last 18 games in the Premier League last year, Rob. Sure. And to the big picture and the big question that we seem to disagree a little bit. I wonder what your take is in terms of the title race. And I'm not a big fan of that phrase, a title race. I mean, they're all in the race, but the
title race is can you win the title? If you're saying can you win the title, then both these teams are in it. Do I think Chelsea are actually in a title race? No. I think if they were to finish second or third, it'd be incredible for what this manager's done with where they are, the age of the group, and all the things that they've come together. I still think, even though they're on the same points, that you could say Arsenal are, because historically of what they've done, have been down the track the last couple of years. I would say they are, but points. It's not just based on points, Rob. It's based on more. But if that gap grows much more, if we start talking about 12-point gap, I'm telling you, they're not pulling 12 points back on Liverpool, or if Man City get back to form.
Those that said that it was a must-win game today for Arsenal.
I didn't buy the must-win. I didn't last week. I think it was last week I was on and they said, Arsenal out the race. They're not
way too early.
This league, what we've seen in this league, what we've seen in performances is no guarantees. Any team could lose back-to-back games, and all of a sudden a 6-point swing changes the whole look of everything. Both times. I thought it was great to see Odegaard back, mate. I thought he
really good.
He's just the gloss, and he's just a finisher. It just looks smoother and better, and he created the first goal, and just his ability to knit the team together. The team look confident with him. You're starting to see the triangles down that right hand side. Considering Robbie's been out, 6 weeks? He's been out. Wow. I mean, at 60 minutes, you're thinking, have we got to protect him now and make sure? I know there's an international break, so a couple of weeks away, possibly.
He's going to get a break.
Not sure if he's going to.
He's not going away.
Get a break. Get himself in good shape and ready to go. But, a credit to him, his professionalism. I just thought he brings an element of composure and sort of consistency to the team that is just so good. And I don't think Odegaard's always been everybody's favourite. Some people don't quite see it, but I thought when you see him today and you see what Arsenal have looked like over the last few weeks, you definitely see a difference when he's in the team.
Just a last mention before we move on, Rob. Just Martinelli, Gabriel Martinelli, that's been a bit in and out, been a bit quiet, had a quiet season last year. It's an important goal for him today, isn't it? Given, we're all looking at how Arsenal can be better and why they're not closer to the league table. Is Martinelli good enough? Do you think he's got in him to get another 10, 12 Premier League goals this season? That's 4 now, I think, for him. There's 3. It's 3 for him now.
Yeah, listen, he's still a young player. He's still learning about the system. He's one of those, Rob, you talked about confidence, you talk about Gabriel Jesus now. He's one of them. If he gets 2 and 3, 3 and 4, if he can get a little run going, he's still got a massive threat on him with his pace on the outside, his ability to come in infield on that right foot. He could be important. There's an over-reliance a bit on Saka and times at Havertz. You've got to get those 3 forward players all getting double figures plus. And he's going to be he's going to be an important one. So I think it's a good point.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And if you want even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.